Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be working on the R18 again. We're doing some brake upgrades. So in here I've got power stop, calipers. Wow, words did not want to function there. I'm still waiting on some R1 concepts, rotors and pads to show up for the front of the R18. But we're upgrading to Acura TSX front brakes because I hate the look of the factory brakes with the 17s. I can actually show you what I'm talking about. Right out here. And just, well, let's get on the side with the sun. There we go. You can see what I'm talking about. They just do not fill out the wheel very well. So we're going to go to the TSX here in the front, which is what I have in the garage right there. And then the rear, we're going to be upgrading to the disc brakes from either SI or the Civic EX, EXL, because those rear brakes are the same on any three of those models. And get rid of these nasty drum brakes. But I'll do a side by side comparison once I have the old ones off. That way I can put them next to each other and show you a good before and after off the car, and then obviously I'll show you the before and after on the car. But now we're gonna head to the junkyard. Alright, we made it out here to pick and pull. We found exactly what we're looking for. These rear hubs. We do have both of them on this vehicle, so I'm going to start taking these off. Alright, we got these two on the outside loosened up. There's that one. We're gonna have to hold the other side of this one. Looks like it might be the 14. Yep. Oh wait, what am I doing? I don't need that one. Yeah, that's why we brought a persuasion tool. Alright, let's get this thing out of here. Alright, there's one. Right, well, we've got this side pretty much all out. This the toe bolt is pretty well seized up, so I took the caliper off. I dropped some, let the brake fluid drip down on it some, and we'll see if that works, but it is pretty well seized up. So I may have to see if I can go find a different one. Alright, found another one here. This one has the whole brake assembly, so I may take the calipers off of this one. But I also have a 9th gen over here that already has kind of painted calipers that I could clean up, clear coat, and call it good, but we'll see. Alright, well, I ended up taking the one off the 9th gen because the 8th gen, the toe adjuster bolt, this bottom one back here, is seized up. Now this one, this bolt that holds this arm on here is completely stripped off, but I could get these out, so I'm just going to take the whole assembly, caliper included. Everything has finally shown up. So got the new e-brake cables here for the disc brake conversion in the rear. We got rear discs from R18 Concepts, same with the rear pads, the rear calipers. These things are nice. Unfortunately, brand new. And I'm not going to say that nice for that long, but nice to start with. And we got the front rotor, or front rotors, front calipers, front pads, R1, R1, power stop, R1, R1, TRQ. But whatever, the reds match actually. And then we got the power stop stainless braided lines here. So just remembered I have to replace these. Luckily, I have a box up here. Bunch of crap on the floor. Maybe up in here or something, I don't know. Yeah, down in here I got a whole bunch of spare lug nuts, so that won't be an issue. Or not lug nuts, but lug studs. So I need to change out the studs on this one while I'm doing it. I'm gonna get this set screw out, and I got this one. I need to get the caliper off, rotor off, and then this upper control arm. And hopefully, fingers crossed, everything comes off of this car easy. The biggest thing I'm worried about is honestly the rear end. I have had it aligned recently, so hopefully the toe bolts aren't seized. That's the main thing, is the toe bolts are seized. It's gonna make this job a lot harder. Well, that took way too long. As you can see, they're both fully stripped down. I have replaced the lug studs on both of them. I was trying to go all with the goldish copper color, whatever, but two of them were stripped out a little bit, so I had to do two of the silver ones, which, whatever. Once they're on the car, you're not going to see them. But on this one, this is the passenger side here, this bolt, you can kind of see how it's a little bit more silver right up there at the top. I had to cut that bolt off. You can see over here, that's the bolt. You can look at that edge, if it'll focus. That is completely rounded off. So, don't mind the headband. That was a pain in the ass, but it's done. Hopefully I don't have any issues taking off the original ones on the car. If so, then I'm gonna have to figure out a way of getting some new bolts if I have to cut the old ones off. But we're gonna get started on the front because I know those are loose and those will swap over pretty easy. I'll show you the process with that because it's not a straightforward swap. It's pretty straightforward, but there are a few minor things you have to do to make the TSX brakes fit on an R18. I got all the car all up in the air, got all the wheels off, and sprayed down everything with PB Blaster. Got everything broken loose. I got all the brake lines broken loose in all four corners. These I already know come, or not those, the bolts for the caliper I already know are going to come off. Got all the screws out to hold the rotors on. And we also broke all the lines off back here. As you can see, puddles of brake fluid because I got all the lines broke loose. Luckily none of them stripped or anything, so hopefully they all come out the rest of the way easy. All the bolts in the rear are broken loose too, so this one on the top, I got one over here on the bottom, and then the toe adjuster back here. Get you set up on a tripod and get the driver's side done so you can see the process of swapping over from the LX front brakes to TSX front brakes. So just like any other brake job, you gotta disassemble it first. So we're gonna get the old caliper, bracket, rotor off, and the brake line. And I'll show you what we have to do to get the TSX on here. You get these screws off on the back here. How I'm gonna do that, that's a better question. Let's try this. Hey, that'll work. Slow, but it'll work. It's still free. Once you get all those screws out, you can't get it off, as you see, because it's locked in by the hub. You take some pin snips, you cut it, and then maybe you know what? Let's cut it some more. You just rip it off. From here, you start with, that's actually the main thing you need to do to upgrade to the TSX brakes, is just take off that dust shield. So now that we have that off, grab one of our rotors. See, compared to this, get that on. Would put some set screws in here, but I hate set screws, so we're not going to do that. Now we have our new bracket, which should just slide right on into place. There's the top one. And the bottom one. Got one crucial step. This one is kind of an important one. Let me take this back off, get these on there properly, and then I'll bring it back in. Got the hardware on there. Just make sure I got everything. Looks like it. Now it's time to put the caliper on. to do with those bolts there. Give me 1 second, I'm gonna throw a wheel on there, maybe 2 lug nuts just to hold it on real quick. And you can see how it fills it out. There we go. That's how the front looks. That looks so much better than those tiny things. Actually, let me see if I can get it side by side. There you can get a pretty good comparison on the size difference between stock LX and TSX. There's a substantial amount more meat, thickness, and pad area on this one. And if you look at the pads themselves, that's your pad difference, stock to TSX. So much better on the front. I'll bring it back here. I'll show you how the rear is done. Rear is a little bit more involved. But it's only because you have to take the rear knuckle off, replace it, and then also run new e-brake cables. So got a little ahead of myself before pulling the camera back out, but you have the rear knuckles off for the drum brakes on both sides. Swapped over the lines already, so it stopped dripping fluid all over everywhere. It's still dripping a little bit, but trying to keep it as minimal as possible. You can see it's still, you know, wet there. You know, it should not be, but it is. And I've also got the e-brake cables undone all the way up to the interior. So there's one here on both sides, and there's 2 that hold it underneath on the body. Got all of that released so far. So now I need to get inside, pull the center console, swap out the e-brake cables, and then we can start assembling the rear end. Let's get this new knuckle in, start assembling the driver's side here, and I'll show you how it's done. So it's going to be kind of a pain, but get that one in there. Now the fun part is going to be getting these lined up. Ooh, it doesn't even look like it lines up properly. There we go. Alright, now that bolt in, and we slide this on here. Now we can put this on. Now all the tools are on the other side, which isn't a big deal. Tight. Got a 14 on the back side here. 14 to 17 on this one. Obviously everything's going to have to be adjusted because it is, you know, all new. It's going to be out of spec, but that all tightened down. Now we can get our ABS sensor, or wheel speed sensor I should say, because this car doesn't have ABS. You can't see it, but there's a hole here on the front side of the knuckle that the sensor goes into. That's a 10 that holds that in. Alright, that's on. I'll start throwing the rotor on here. I'll have to clean them up, but luckily I don't have caliper hardware for it, but I found some that is the correct thread pitch and length. So let's get this caliper on here, or the caliper bracket I should say. Oh god, caliper bracket on here. Yeesh, that's a little sketchy, but it should. Yay. I don't necessarily like that. That washer on there's a little too thick on that one. And that one will work perfect. So. Bottom went in, top went in. All right, bracket is tightened down. Not going to quite throw on the caliper yet. Mainly, then you figure out which side. Well, I know this goes this way, but I got to figure out the e-brake cable and which side goes to which. All right. Figured out the e-brake cable, I hope. I'm pretty sure I have. I hope I've got the right side on the driver's side. So we got the pads on here. Let's get the caliper on. Wrong size. Still the wrong size. There it is. All right, these are 12s in the rear, at least on these. All right, got that on. We should be able to get this up into place. right, so that looks correct-ish. I'm just more worried about the tire hitting it. So I'm gonna go actually double check on the SI and see if that is routed correctly, because it does not feel correct. I know it goes underneath here, that is correct, but the other part here just does not seem right. Seems like the tire is going to hit it, and we can't. Driver's side is complete. I just got to finish running the e-brake cable there. So I'm going to go get the passenger side knocked out. Still got to swap over the brake lines on the front, but that's not a huge deal. That'll take me a couple of seconds. And then we can start bleeding the brakes after we get the rest of it done. So all 4 corners are done. I gotta finish bleeding it. I've already vacuum bled it. And I'm waiting on the wife to get home so I can do a manual bleed with the pump brakes, hold open, blah blah blah, to get the final little bit of air out, because it's still, I can tell it's still a little bit squishy. Once I do that, I'll get the wheels on, go take it for a test drive, and I'll let you know if I think this was worth the money. Alright, well, she's all back together. Driven it a little bit, and this thing stops on a frickin' dime. And as you can tell, it looks like the front brakes actually fill out the wheel. Don't have that ugly drum in the rear anymore. So we are good to go. The only thing I'm kind of worried about is, no, we got plenty of space. So we got kind of worried about the e-brake cables hitting the tire in the rear, but it's got plenty of clearance, so shouldn't have any issues there. And I also took it into work and got it aligned. As you can see, it was not even close to being aligned there. And we got it brought back in, so we're running, and we got about a little over -2.5 and right about -2.5. No, basically -2.5 all the way around. And we got toe all brought into where it needs to be. So the car drives fantastic. It actually feels solid now. Before, when I lowered the rear, I didn't get it realigned because I knew I was going to be doing the brakes. So it had been questionable on the highway. Now it feels rock solid. So, do I think it's worth it? Well, I spent roughly $900. That's for pads, rotors, calipers on all 4 corners, new rear hubs, knuckles, whatever you want to call them, e-brake cables, and lines. Is the money well spent for the braking upgrade? Yes. Does the car need it? Absolutely not. And then, but mainly for me, it was getting rid of those ugly drums and filling out the front wheel. So in the long run, I think it was worth it. Technically, this is what you would consider a budget big brake kit for a R18, because you're already stepping up from, it's already bigger than SI in the front, and you don't have to modify anything like you would if you were doing the TL Type S Brembo upgrade. So really the only thing you have to do is obviously run the new e-brake cables, new lines, and cut off the dust shield in the front, and everything swaps right over. So it definitely took way longer than it should have. I would have been able to get it done a lot faster if I was on a lift and not crawling around underneath the car. But it's done. So that's going to be the end of this wood. Hopefully you enjoyed, or at least got some information out of it if you're looking at doing this to your own.